Hey Divas, what's up? It's your girl Diva and welcome back to Diva's house. So it's time for Diary of At Home Mom slash Diva. So if you guys want to see what I'm talking about this week, stay tuned. Alright Diva, so I'm back. So last week I know I posted in my last post, if anybody wanted to hear about my life as a military wife, comment down below. So my lovely friend, the Coco Martha, who I've known since college, said she wants to hear about the story, and I'm quite sure it might interest some of y'all. And I know a lot of you ladies on here who are in the military or married to somebody in the military can relate to my story. So we're no longer a military family since then. Since 2014, my husband got out the Marine Corps around September 30th. So we have been a civilian family since then. Now my husband will tell you he will never ever be a civilian puke, as he says, because once you've been baptized and gone through the boot camp of being a Marine, you are always a Marine. So yes. So I'm sweating right now because it's hot in the house and I got my hoodie on, but this is just one of many sweaters that I have. If you guys can see the back, the logo, this was wasn't his last battalion that he was with, but this was the battalion that, for me, I spent most of my life, with him as his wife while he was in this battalion. So let me give you guys the backstory. I met my husband while he was a recruiter. And at the time, it was cool because he was recruiting and I was working at David's Bridals, and our schedules kind of were just what they were. Living together, then it was like, okay, you don't get home till late, I don't get home till late, whatever. Anyway, fast forward, we got married in 2010 because it was coming up for that time for him to relocate, and he didn't want to leave New York without his babe. So we got married in 2010 and we moved to Jacksonville, North Carolina. Now whenever I say Jacksonville, people think of Florida, but if you're from North Carolina or you know people who have served in the Marine Corps, you know about Jacksonville, North Carolina. It is about 45 minutes to an hour away from Wilmington, North Carolina, about 2 hours away from Raleigh, North Carolina. It is a beautiful area on the coast, tons of beaches, just a straight up military town because ain't nothing to do but shop, eat, and then there's the base. Very little to do in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Have they come up a lot since the last time we visited? More restaurants. There might be a few more things to do now since we've left, but yeah, more movie theaters, whatever. So we moved to Jacksonville just after we got married, and then a couple months later, my husband was supposed to start prepping because he had joined one battalion, then they sent him to another one because there was too many staff sergeants in that unit that he was in, and they were sending him to a battalion that was getting ready to deploy. They weren't supposed to deploy till the summertime of 2011, and they ended up being an earlier deployment. So just about a few months after we moved down there, he had to start preparing, and then about, I want to say March, April, my husband was deployed. So our first year of marriage, we spent it apart. My husband was deployed on a ship for almost 11 months, and I was left behind in North Carolina. Like many other Marine wives that I've known whose husbands have deployed, a lot of them have, during those times have opted to go back home, stay with their family, save the money of being in a place. We didn't live on base, we lived off base. And I didn't opt to go back home to stay the whole 10 and a half months while he was gone, because we had an apartment, we had a lease. We could have gotten out of our lease because of the deployment, but we moved all of our stuff. Well, the Marine Corps moved all of our stuff to Jacksonville. I wasn't about to put all that in storage by myself. We had 2 cars at the time, so that meant, you know, the other car would have had to gone into climate control storage, and then I'd have had to make the drive back home to stay for 10.5 months, which I could have done because it was just me, it was by myself. But I didn't opt to do that. I opted to stay in Jacksonville and try to make the best of it. So was it hard? During the deployment, yes, because this is the first time we were ever apart from each other like this. We did communicate a lot, but it was definitely hard. I had a lot of sleepless nights. People who knew what I went through during that time could tell you I was an insomniac. So I had never ever really lived by myself either, so every sudden noise made me uncomfortable. And you know, we lived in an apartment on the 3rd floor, but the area was quiet. It wasn't a lot of crime or anything, whatever. But it was just kind of weird not being, you know, him not being home. So anyway, I made a couple of trips back and forth to New York. My cousin came down, she spent time with me. My mom came down, spent time with me. And in between there, I still went, you know, I drove the 10 hours, braved it, and drove home. Which really wasn't bad because it was like driving to Toronto, which I did do too, I think. At one point while he was deployed, me and my mom went out to Toronto for a weekend to go see my grandfather. So fast forward now, he comes home the early part of 2012, and we decided to, you know, take a little vacation. He had time he could take off. We went home to New York, and then, you know, we came back and I got a job working at the Exchange. Then I was there until 2013, and in between that, we decided we would start our family. So May of 2013, I find out that I'm pregnant. So yes, oh wow, you know, I was working at the Exchange, which is very interesting because if you've ever been to a military base, you know the Exchanges are like giant department stores, so to speak. They carry everything from electronics to housewares and all that other stuff. So I made a lot of friends working at the Exchange, which was awesome. So right before I found out though that I was pregnant, I had switched and went over to work at the Child Care Development Center, where it's basically a daycare for a lot of the military families. You can bring your child. If you were retired or whatever, you still worked on the base, those services were open to you. Or even if you didn't work on the base, those services were still open to you. It was one of the best kinds of daycare that you can get. And I think if we had moved back to Jacksonville, I'd have been working there, and my daughter would have been going there, and I wouldn't have had nothing to worry about. So found out I was pregnant around May of 2013, and it was the, you know, I'm getting orders, we're moving again, and I'm like, why can't we just stay here? I like Jacksonville. It's cool. Like, I like it, but I don't like it, and the ride home is not too bad. And you know, your time is coming up. Like, why even go? You only have 2 more years to go, or so to speak. And then it's like, why go to South Carolina? So anyway, by the end of the year, the usual life, and just by the end of the year, beginning of the year of 2014, we moved to Beaufort, South Carolina. And that's kind of where his career would end up ending. We moved there. I had my daughter in January. She's supposed to be due February 7th or the 8th. One of those days. It eludes me now. But we moved there, and talks of cuts had been going on for quite a while. And it came down that, you know, because of where he was in his career, that people like him who hadn't been promoted for whatever reason, you know, they're liable to get cut. So you have your options. You get out early, you take this early retirement, or get booted out. So he didn't want to get booted out, so he got out early because he was eligible to get out early. Although when we did find out later on was that he could have potentially served his last whatever. But anyway, so to backtrack now, life as a military wife was very interesting because it was now a whole new world to me. I had been a civilian all my life. I had told myself I would never marry somebody who was in the armed services because of the danger that they put themselves in. And I just didn't know what to expect. And then when it all happened, it just like was wow. So it was a lot of things to learn because Marines talk in abbreviations and everything is a acronym for something else. So he would come home and talk to me and I'm like, what? I'm like, first of all, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Can you explain it to me? And what I found was when I started working, or even prior to him coming back, I went to a brief for all the spouses in regards to them coming home. And a lot of the wives were like, oh, some of the more experienced wives, because I sat at a table with like 2 experienced wives and some others who had just been just like me, just married and their husbands got deployed. And, you know, the more experienced wives were like, well, expect your husbands to come back differently and not tell you or explain things to you and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, looking at them like, I don't know what kind of marriage you have, but my husband is my friend. Like, and we talked the whole time he was gone, and he explained a lot of things to me. So if I ask questions, I expect an answer and an explanation because I don't know. I don't want to be the ignorant person in the relationship. A lot of other military wives that I've known who have been very ignorant in the situation, didn't know what their husbands were talking about, and they just got snowballed by certain things. But that's neither here nor there. So it was definitely a learning experience. I had to get used to nights of sleeping by myself, coming home, being by myself, because there were nights that he had duty. Luckily for me, there weren't too many times that my husband had to be in the field, which was great because he was a staff sergeant. So I don't know what that was like. I mean, there was once or twice that he had to go and it got cut short and he didn't have to be in the field as long as he thought he was going to have to be. But there were definitely nights that he had to do duty. And definitely some of those times where he had to be out in the field, but then they got cut short, which was awesome. Then there were times then it would be like, I'd wake up and I'm like, you ain't going to work? What's going on? Oh, we're off. Oh, okay, well, I gotta go to work. I don't got the same luxury as you. So it was definitely an experience going through that. Transitioning out, I have to say, was a lot tougher for him than it was for me. Because, of course, this was just coming back to regular, everyday, everyday life. The only thing now is we have a child. But he's been a Marine for so long that now coming in, transitioning into regular, everyday civilian life, where order is a little bit different. I have to say, I've noticed with him is that the way civilian jobs are and the way like managers and stuff of that nature treat the job is definitely a lot different than how, as a Marine, they would treat the job. So it's been very different for him, but he's managed very well. And it's just, you know, our life isn't too much different other than the fact that we don't live in a military town anymore. All of our military privileges in terms of shopping at the exchange, shopping at the commissary, we don't have anymore. And plus, you know, it really doesn't make a difference because we don't live in an area where we can get to those things. I think if we were living in Jacksonville and he had just gotten out and we didn't have those privileges, then it would be like, you know, it kind of sucks because great bargains at the exchange. Great bargains, great sales. Like, a few of my Coach bags came from the exchange because I would get them when they were like 20% off. Some of my shoes too. So, you know, we got a lot of great buys just from shopping at the exchange, and then shopping at the commissary was always great because I would work wonders with our budget commissary. So, yeah, that's what it was like being a military wife. And so to speak, I still am a military wife because, as my husband said, once a Marine, always Marine. He will die being a Marine. So we definitely bleed Marine Corps around the house. Like, his stuff is up, his plaque, everything they gave him once he got out. So, yeah. So anyway, my fabulous divas, thank you guys. This video was a little bit lengthy because it was a longer story to tell this week, but let me know some of y'all thoughts, what you think. If you guys have any questions, post them down below. If you want to know more, comment down below. I'll hit you up back in the comments. And just to say, thank you to all of my new subscribers. We have hit 251 subscribers. So I'm at the halfway point to 500. So excited. So I'm hoping y'all tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend. Come over, check out Diva's house, because it's not just about Diana's at-home mom, but it's about the fabulosity that you get when you come to my house. So definitely know there's going to be some great things coming up. And of course, stay tuned for next month. The Beauty 101 classes are definitely going down. And on top of the classes I will have for Makeup Mondays, is going to be a bunch of stuff. So I'm not just having the one Makeup Crush Monday, but I'm having Makeup Mondays in terms of DIYs, certain tutorials about brushes and things of that nature. Plus, at the end of November's Beauty 101, there will be a giveaway. So y'all look out for that. Comment down below if y'all are really interested to in that giveaway, because I don't usually get too much response from the giveaways that I've had so far. But I'm hoping that I get a big response for what that giveaway will be at the end of my Beauty 101. So tell a friend and tell a friend if you guys are interested in knowing more about makeup. Tell them to come check out Diva's house, because it's about to go down. So y'all know what to do. Y'all stay bad, because you know your girl is too. Bye.